As we age, we have to stop letting our lives always go in straight lines. And I think that's what you had said about how it's finally nice to slow down, because we have this thing where everything is, moving in the lines about this is where we go. And as you get older, you're like, well, I don't want to follow that line of society expectations anymore.
Exactly. Welcome back to Life's Next Lesson Plan. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Betsy Korbinyr, a passionate hiker, retired social worker, and author of Time, Beauty, and Grief, a hike through Wisconsin's 50 state parks. Betsy embarked on an incredible journey to hike 5 miles in each of Wisconsin's 50 state parks within a year, weaving together reflections on aging, resilience, and the healing power of nature. In this episode, we explore how hiking became a path to self-discovery, the lessons she's learned along the trails, and why embracing adventure, no matter your age, is so important. Plus, we'll dive into her unique perspective on life reviews and how they can help us process time, loss, and change. She learned this through sitting by the side of hospice patients. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about slowing down, finding beauty in unexpected places, and making peace with life's transitions. I'm excited to introduce to you today Betsy Korbinyr, who I met in a Facebook hiking group, the same hiking group where I met Tracy Weber. So these gracious individuals who I've never met in person are so wonderful to come and share their interesting stories with us. I have said it once and I'll say it again and again that every story, every time I'm done recording a guest podcast, I just end up so energized and so inspired, and I know this will be exactly the same case. So I'm excited to have Betsy here with us, and I'll let her start by just sharing a little bit about her background.
Well, the way we met was we met on the social media site, and I was talking about my book that came out in August of 2024, Time, Beauty, and Grief, a hike through Wisconsin's 50 state parks. And so we kind of met on that website to think about our mutual love of hiking. So a bit about myself. I received my bachelor's of social work from Southwest Missouri State University in Springfield, and my master of social work from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I am now retired after 30 plus years, but I continue to maintain my Wisconsin licenses and to volunteer. I have a certification in thanatology from the Association for Deaf Education and Counseling. The association is the premier worldwide organization devoted to this topic. In fact, they're the ones that actually have journals, professional journals related to it. And I've worked with clients ranging from preemie babies to centenarians. I weave together my professional and personal knowledge of aging, loss, and resilience throughout my book. And I invite the readers to learn more about themselves and their own aging along with me on my journey. I'm a native Wisconsinite. I grew up above a cheese factory. My dad made mozzarella, and he was the president of the Cheesemakers Association for many years. And after the apartment above the cheese factory got too small, we moved to a century-old farm. And so that's where I grew up. I've lived in multiple states and hiked in multiple states and also in several countries. However, I'm the very first to admit I am not an elite athlete. I'm not someone who goes out and hikes all 1,200 miles of the Ice Age Trail in 45 days. For example, I'm a slightly overweight old woman with a respiratory disability. In fact, I dyed my hair blue so I could embrace the whole old blue-haired lady look. I don't hike super fast or large amounts of miles at a time. I hiked the 102-mile Cotswolds Way in England in September of 2024 with a hiking group. I was almost always the last one because I am slower, yes, but also because I like to just enjoy the rhythm of hiking. I like to take the time to forest bathe, to look for beauty and awe when I'm out in nature. That to me is the best part of hiking. Beyond all the ways it's good for your physical health, your cardiovascular functioning, your stability and balance. It really, really is good for your mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I resonate with the cheese factory thing. Funny story, my grandma who raised me worked at a cheese factory in Wisconsin also. And to this day, everyone in our family, she would always bring home Widmer's brick cheese wrapped in kind of the red foil. And to this day, we call it at every holiday, do we have grandma's cheese? Because it like became a well-known.
Yeah. And, brick cheese is not one that a lot of.
I know. In fact, my daughter texted me today and she said, I'm at the Milwaukee Public Market and they have Widmer's and I'm buying it. She's 17 years old, so it's a generational thing. So
Yes, we're both dairy girls.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
They had a farm, and yeah, I can definitely identify with that. So because we are an educational podcast here, and I have roots obviously in the classroom, we always share a memorable educational story. I think you have a college memory to share with us. Okay, great.
So the closest university to the remote town of Rocky Comfort, Missouri, where I was living, was Springfield, Missouri. It was approximately 70 miles away one way. During that period in my life, I was going to school full-time, working part-time, and all the driving became another part-time job. Needless to say, it was stressful. The things that kept me sane during the long drives were the beautiful farm fields, especially the fields of sunflowers. Their heads pointed east on my way to school and west on my way home. I remember one particular day that was filled with astonishing beauty and that contributed to one of my interesting future hobbies. I was driving to school on the day of the annular eclipse, driving with my postcard with a tiny hole in it and the second one for it to shine onto. As the eclipse got closer, I pulled off the highway into a rest stop. I found it filled with other eclipse watchers. I was mesmerized by the shapes of the leaves when the eclipse was at its fullest, the sun almost blocked out by the moon. If you have never seen this, it's well worth the trouble. Since then, I've seen 2 total eclipses, the most recent last summer in Indiana. And now I got to get to wear like cool solar eclipse glasses, which I didn't have back in the day. Annulars are spectacular, but total eclipses are a spiritual experience. I don't know if you've ever seen one, but oh my gosh, they're wonderful. So hence my hobby of being an umbraphile, a shadow lover, someone who chases eclipses. My friends and I are planning a trip to Spain in 2026 because it's got an arc through Iceland and Spain and Egypt too. And so we're going to be in the line of totality for the next one.
Oh, you're kidding me. When do you leave to get there?
I think it happens, I'm thinking April. I can't even remember.
Okay.
And we're going to meet this weekend to talk more about it so we can get our plans down. I know I was talking to someone about the how there's all these things where they're to view the eclipse in Egypt, and they're all filled up already.
Oh, wow. Really? I remember it was a year ago about that we had a partial eclipse, and
it was partial here, and then we went to way down southern Indiana to see it. And it was funny because we went to see the eclipse, and then we were down there. It was like, wow, we didn't know. So we ended up
It is really amazing. I'm such a proponent of like being a tourist first in your own state and then really just in the U.S. There is really so much to see.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a bunch of teachers who were eclipse chasing also. And so I had a couple students in my journalism class writing articles about these teachers who were eclipse chasing, but they actually let us out of school for part of the afternoon and they gave all the kids glasses and we got to go out on the football field and enjoy it. So it's kind of a neat experience, but how fun. I mean, what an excuse to go to Spain with some friends.
Yeah, I know. Like you need an excuse.
What a great story, though. So speaking of stories, I want to hear and I want you to share with the listeners just a little bit more about your hiking journey and about your book. You obviously are someone of many interests. So I'd like to hear what put you on that path.
All right. I've always loved being in a forest, studying the plants and gazing up at the trees. In fact, my first bachelor's degree was in botany. I hiked in many parts of Wisconsin growing up and spent a few years living in the Ozarks of Missouri and Arkansas and loved hiking in the Mark Twain National Forest. I moved from there to New Mexico and I found the desert an amazing and varied hiking experience as well. One of my childhood dreams was, in fact, I first heard about this, I was an 8th grader, was to hike the coast-to-coast walk across England. It goes from the Irish Sea to the North Sea. And I finished its 192 miles a few weeks shy of my 60th birthday.
Wow.
I went by myself and met up with a hiking group when I got to the start of the trail. And it took about 12 days, and it was beyond glorious. It was just absolutely amazing, stunning views, and life-changing.
Do you sleep along the course there? Do you camp? Are there hostels? How does that work?
Well, I was turning 60, so I didn't want to carry backpacks anymore and rough sleep or anything. So I did it with a tour group where they carry your luggage forward and you just carry the stuff you need for the day, like your waterproofs and your lunch and, whatever. And then staying in a little inns and hotels along the way.
That's amazing. I didn't even know. I'm learning so much. And again, this is something that I would love to check out more about because I didn't even know that was a thing that I'm picturing everybody carrying everything on their back. I think I'm picturing the movie Wild or something where she goes on the Pacific Coast Trail and she sleeps in these tiny tents. And I'm like, I like the idea of the experience, but not that part of it.
Been there, done that. Yeah. Not doing that.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't even know that you could do that. Okay, I need to look into that.
With the Cotswolds Way, that again, then it's like people bring your luggage forward and you just hike with your stuff.
Okay.
You need for the day. So
good to know.
That to me is the way to go once you're over 60.
Yeah, okay.
So it took so I talked about how it took about 12 days. It was funny because like you said, we did run into some people who had everything they needed. And I mean, their backpacks were up here, to 3 feet above their heads. But they were all in their 20s.
Yeah.
So when I came up to my 65th birthday, I really wanted another challenging hike. But with the threat of COVID still lingering, and with my respiratory issues and all, I decided to keep it close to my home in Wisconsin. So the angst over the passage of time, the processing of loss, and the constant battle between integrity and despair profoundly affect this milestone birthday of turning 65. With all these aspects in mind, I developed a quest to hike 5 miles in each of Wisconsin's 50 state parks in a year. And that's how I decided to do it. It was just something I came up with. I knew I could do 5 miles, so that it would be a challenge, but not an impossible one. That is the thing with a quest, and really everything in life. You have to consider your own risk tolerance. When you take a risk, It breaks the rules about how you thought of yourself and what your life has to be. You expand the territory of yourself. And as I like to say, it's better to die on an adventure than live standing still.
That's a great line. Yes, that's great.
Yeah. I have a sticker like that. So that's
perfect.
So having a quest, you get a positive brain chemistry boost because you're achieving goals. And it helps you to know that when life throws you difficult things, you can get through them or try your darndest to do so. Most of the 50 hikes were done by myself, but some I had friends come along. And meeting life's challenges keeps us growing. And that's a really important thing. You don't want to ever stop growing as a person. I spent time taking notes as I went and writing them up for myself to remember my hikes and process the myriad of changes related to my aging, from downsizing to orphanhood to my change in relationship with time. It is the reason the word time is in the title of my book. As we age, time becomes a much more tangible thing. It no longer is an abstract, but almost becomes like a being that accompanies us on our journey. The more parks I visited and the more folks I told of my quest, the more people wanted me to put them into a book. So that's what I did. My book is part trail guide, part memoir, and part conversation on the adventure of becoming a senior citizen. It is filled with information on the trails I hiked, and each park's chapter has one of my stylized hand-drawn maps of the route I took. People get a kick out of the different kinds of compasses that I have in there. It's really pretty fun. And there's a list of the park's details that you're going to need. And doing the minimum 5 miles allowed me to experience each park in depth, even the small ones. And that minimum became an opportunity to engage in the mindfulness of hiking. During the year, an existential dilemma slapped me really hard in the face, and I decided to include that experience in my book because it allowed me to speak to the issue of trauma and recovery and continuing to journey forward to finish what I had started and to have the resilience to continue and to persevere.
Wow, amazing. It took you a year. Like, did you originally put a time frame on it? Like you wanted to do it in a year?
Yeah, I wanted to do it in a year. I actually finished it in 13 months because of the existential dilemma.
Okay, right.
Don't want to get that part of the story away.
Right. No, we don't want to spoil the ending, right? Or spoil the rising action of the book. So, yeah, I'm sure there's another book that Tracy talked about in her episode. Have you heard of it? It's called The 12-Hour Hike or something like that. And
no,
she did it. She was going through a divorce and, loved hiking. And it's just this idea that you take 12 hours, no phone, no companions, no dogs, nothing, and you just go out. And, she explained how she did it. And she did take a phone just for safety reasons, and for taking a few pictures. But she had it planned out where she was going to put her food and which, a trail she was familiar with and knew where the bathrooms were. But I want to look into that too, because I had never heard of that before.
Yeah.
And then she kind of journaled, as you said. She kind of mentioned some of the feelings that she was having and some of the observations that she was making along the way. And I just find that so fascinating that, it's sad that I've waited till this point in my life to say you can slow down. It's okay, right? To take an hour or 5 miles, like you're saying. And it sounds so attainable when you break it down. I'm going to just do 5 miles, but how much you saw and what you experienced and how life-changing that is. So that's so fascinating. I am sure that I'm not sure if you had an inspiration originally for the hiking aspect of it, but I'm assuming you've had some impactful mentors along the way. We always talk about people who inspire us. So can you share a little bit about a mentor that you've had on your journey?
Um, well, I credit my resilience to my grandmother, Elizabeth, my mom's mom.
Mm-hmm.
She had an amazing, terrifying, and incredible life. Growing up in Appalachia, she was taken out of school at age 7 to care for her blind father and married at 13 to her 35-year-old coal mining husband. She finally taught herself to read when she was 70.
Mm.
The mother of 10, she lived to see 4 of them die before her. She babysat the grandchildren of Devil Anse Hatfield. Apparently, my family was on the Hatfield side of the feud. And once used a cast iron frying pan to fight off a cougar who was stalking her toddlers. She was fierce and gentle, creative and steadfast. She was a fantastic gardener. I talk a lot about the importance of being a gardener in my book, not necessarily of plants, but of kindness, just like she did. Everything she touched sprang to life and burst into flower. Look for beauty, she would tell me. It is in it. In it is where you can continue to live and continue to hope, even when life is at its darkest. Searching for and finding beauty is how I honor her and where I discover my resolve and determination. It is the reason the word beauty is in the title of my book, my grandmother's wisdom, and also because our state parks are just so incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, I love these little tidbits of how you were inspired for the title of your book as well. That's really fun to hear. She sounds a lot like my grandmother, who I mentioned before, also had 10 kids. Now she was older than 13, but this reminds me of reading the book Hillbilly Elegy. Have you read that? That takes place in Appalachia. Well, our current vice president wrote it, actually, J.D. Vance, but I read it during the pandemic, actually, before I knew who he even was. But that's where he grew up. And oh my, the stories. Wow. Yeah. And, hearing her story and reading his, you can really feel for these people who had to grow up just so quickly. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
What a story. And like you said, the resolve and the ability to overcome adversity. And when we think we have a problem, we think back to these people and think, okay, I can get through this, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into Betsy's lesson today, we're going to take a little break for some ads and our Ask the Teacher Anything segment. 100% of men and women have hormones. And with the increased presence of processed foods and environmental toxins, it's more important than ever to make mindful choices in the products we use every day. That's why I trust Hue & Grace, high-performing, clean products designed to support hormone health while reducing exposure to harmful chemicals. Because this topic has been my primary focus since ending birth control in 2024 in an attempt to regulate my changing midlife hormones, after making healthy swaps in my diet, personal care products, and exercise routine, I've been able to lower my dose of anxiety medication I once relied very heavily on, and have restored balance to my nervous system and cleared up the brain fog I was experiencing in perimenopause. Hue & Grace has played a key role in this transformation, offering safe, effective, non-toxic solutions that support my wellness journey. If you listened to episode 16 with certified Mayo Clinic health and wellness coach Tracy Danielson Mitchell, you heard our talk about the importance of hormone health. To share with you everything I did throughout my journey to balance my hormones, I did a deep dive on my Live and Learn Patreon about all of the tests and supplements that I use in order to navigate this journey in my 50s. To find this episode, you can just visit patreon.com/liveandlearn. Some of my favorite products I use every day include Hue & Grace's Hydrate and Detox that contains powerful antioxidants, electrolytes, and prebiotic fiber. Their popular blue drink you see me drinking on Instagram is their Triple Boost Hormone Support Protein Powder with blue spirulina that I mix with their daily collagen supplement. I also keep my skin hydrated and smooth with their spray-on body oil. I love putting this on before going out, and it gives my aging skin a more dewy look. I've also switched out my hair care products to Hue & Grace's Your Best Hair Day line, with all natural ingredients that help nourish my hair and stretch out time between washes. If you're on this journey with me and are interested in exploring Hue & Grace's trusted non-toxic products, for 10% off and free shipping, you can use my discount link at hueandgrace.com/lessonplan and reach out anytime via email at nextlessonplan@gmail.com with questions. Live and learn with me as we focus on living fully and feeling our best. Visit hueandgrace.com/lessonplan to see how easy it is to start making some healthy swaps on your way to non-toxic living. To those of you who have followed me for a while, you know that I value mental and physical wellness. Personally, I've worked with a few different coaches over the years and even been one myself. If you are looking for education and support in your own wellness journey, I would love to invite you to the wellness community I am currently in that keeps me accountable daily with my nutrition and movement. If you are a Facebook user, you can search for our free group called Team MG. This group is led by my coach, Megan Grimord, who is a certified trainer and nutrition coach. She offers lots of education and support for your wellness journey. If you want to get to know Coach Megan more, you can follow her on Instagram at all lowercase Megan, MEGAN _Grimord, GRIMORD, or even listen to her on episode 10 of the podcast. She has also created a discount code for my listeners. Just go to her website, www.team-mg.com, and enter code LessonPlan10 to get $10 off any of her premium coaching packages for the first month. Coach Megan is a busy mom like me who works full-time, so I appreciate her practicality mixed with some tough love to keep me going. That sound means it's time for our Ask the Teacher Anything segment. So I have 2 questions today to answer. Number 1, what emotions have been the hardest to navigate during this transition? Great question. I think right after I made the decision, it's normal to have a lot of second guessing and doubt. But I have to be honest, that didn't last very long because I spent a lot of time contemplating this decision, and I was getting a lot of signs from the universe that it was the right decision. Now I have zero wavering or questioning that decision. I know 100% it's the right decision. And that's because one of the biggest emotions I've been having is just because I made the decision so early in the school year. It is, if I'm going to be honest, very hard to hype myself up. You know, teachers have to put on a brave face every single day, and they have to be patient and happy and motivating. And that's been harder because my mind is kind of in different places. So I've been trying to pick things that I really enjoy teaching, and I'm still making changes to lesson plans to, I think, make them better for kids and make them more exciting. And that kind of keeps me going. But, it's been hard juggling, trying to, firm up my next career step. And there's that unsure feeling of it's not signed on the dotted line yet. As of recording this, we're getting closer. But I think I'll feel better once that is secured. And so, kind of a gamut of second guessing, and then that sort of went away. And then it's, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. How do I stay invested for 50 more days of the school year, which is where I'm at now at the time of taping this. And, I don't want to leave on a low note. So trying to keep my eyes in the classroom, focused there, but also looking ahead at just making the right decisions for the future as well. So it's been a lot. Second question, what's a topic you're nervous but excited to cover on your podcast? Ooh, I like this. I think I have two. There are a lot of people who want to talk about what's going on in education, and I have to walk that line of I'm still in the classroom right now. And so, I've been kind of putting those conversations off a little bit and talking about, what can we do to make education better rather than just a venting session. And also not all of my listeners are educators. So I don't want every single episode to be just about what's going on in education and a pity party about education and teachers and what they're going through. But I have to say, it was a very, very eye-opening to me when my position was posted. And I thought we had a good 5 years before we saw in our district the effects of the teacher shortage. But wow, was that eye-opening. But anyway, that makes me a little bit nervous just because I'm still employed by a school district. Secondly, though, and I think this is what the Patreon is for. And again, once I'm done teaching, we'll be able to open up a little bit more on Patreon with some more personal things. But I've gone through a lot in the last year with just decisions in my personal life as well, as all part of this, like aligning my life to my values. I've made some very difficult decisions that I've toyed with for probably, again, more than 30 years. And so I'd like to talk a little bit more about that on Patreon as well, because I'm learning more and more that I'm so not alone in that. And there's a lot of people struggling with some of the things that I have made very difficult decisions about in my personal life. And so I'd like to talk about that. That's probably more of a topic for Patreon, though. And so I'm looking forward to doing those. I love, love, love getting questions from you, so please keep them coming. You can submit them on my website at livesnextlessonplan.com. There's an Ask the Teacher Anything box there, or you can just shoot me a DM on Instagram. We're back from break, and Betsy is ready to share her impactful lesson with everyone. And so we'll hear what she has to say. And then, of course, she will have a little bit of reflection and some action steps for us today.
All right. So a big lesson that I would like to share with your listeners is to do a life review on milestone birthdays. I had done countless life reviews with dying patients as a hospice social worker, and had decided long ago to do mine as I lived, not to wait till the end so I could embrace the freedom and adventures of aging. I wanted to give myself the space to contemplate my journey, because on that journey is where you learn about the destination, about what you want to be when you get there and how you want to be in it. I include questions in my book with each of the park's chapters to invite you to discover your own life review as well. Life reviews are a process of thinking back over our lives thus far. They help to increase our self-awareness and reduce feelings of despair. Life reviews help us let go of emotions we don't need to carry around, to find ways to process our losses, reframe our regrets, and find safe places for our traumas. This is the reason the word grief is in the title of my book. Because let's face it, as we age, we have ever more grief experiences. The grief of losing family members, of losing control, the grief of our changing bodies, and of countless goodbyes. We don't talk enough about grief and loss in our culture, but it is, nevertheless, a huge part of our lives. During our lifetimes, we go through several stages of personality development. We work on meeting challenges, making decisions, and resolving conflicts. Each stage has a positive strength and a negative maladaptation. The strengths build a sustainable life. the maladaptations build a fragile structure prone to collapse. As a school social worker, I considered the tasks of the stages of industry versus inferiority and identity versus role confusion. You're nodding your head because you know you've heard of these. In my work with elders, I used the final stage, which I now exist in myself. We begin the functions of this one around 65 years old and work on them until we die. Understanding our privileges and failures, traumas and achievements is the important task as we age. That's why if you've been around elders, they'll tell the same story many, many times. It's that processing of their own life story. It's their own life review.
Interesting.
So we need to find out, did we have a good life all in all? That's the question at the heart of our aging journey. This final stage is called the integrity versus despair. Integrity is a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction we feel about our lives as a whole, and it helps us to approach our aging in positive ways. Despair is the feelings of regret and shame, bitterness and hopelessness. It can cause us to think we've just wasted time and missed opportunities, making it easy to be negative about growing older. I talk about this ongoing battle between these two forces in my book and how they influence our continued search for meaning and purpose in our lives. I include in my book a few of the poems I wrote about the clients I worked with when I was working in hospice. But I want to share one here written by Emily Dickinson because it perfectly reflects the idea of integrity as we age. It's not that you have to be some huge change agent or influence thousands of people. It really is just about one heart. So here's the poem. If I Can Stop One Heart from Breaking by Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin onto her nest again, I shall not live in vain. That's what integrity as you age means.
Yeah.
Being out on a hiking trail, being out in nature is a perfect time for this deep self-reflection of a life review to address these complex emotions that involve finding your balance between integrity and despair. This self-reflection helps us to make peace with our losses and endings, and it helps us to learn to embrace the chaos and impermanence of life and to cherish each day as it comes.
Yeah. Well, I love that you shared a poem. This English teacher's heart is just so happy right now. And I love Emily Dickinson. I did a huge project on Emily Dickinson in college. So thank you so much for sharing that.
She was quite an amazing.
And, you know, it's interesting that she really never planned for her poems to be found, right? Which gives you a whole different perspective of like, these are really her deep, vulnerable thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So amazing. Thank you so much. Wow, that gives me a lot to think about. I love this. So in your reflection, are we going to be able to kind of think about and process a little bit of your lesson here?
Yeah. So in thinking about it, a goal setting is give yourself a challenge and allow yourself the time to reflect on your life. Plan this challenge. You can start small or dream big, but don't wait. There are countless studies out there about how as we age, we must continue to challenge ourselves to do difficult things, even though they offer few extrinsic rewards. It's kind of like challenging myself to go hike the Cotswolds Way. And I was getting ready to fly into London. I was feeling lots of trepidation because I had to figure out the trains and get, all these other things, because there's many trains to get from London to the Cotswolds. And I was like, I have all the tools I need and I can do it. And it was a wonderful, difficult challenge, and it felt really good to be able to do it. Yeah. So that's what you want to do.
Love that. I love that point about the few extrinsic rewards because again,
nobody's going to be like, oh, giving me lots of, accolades for it. It's more, I get that sense that I did this and it's a challenge I overcame.
Right.
And so even though that our efforts may have little significance to anyone else, they remind us that they are about the journey. It's not where you eventually end up. We can find purpose in our endeavors, and we're able to do more than we expect of ourselves. We should lead our lives more like hiking trails that bend and turn and go up and down, because just like hiking does for us physically, this mindset lets us find better stability and balance. So hiking and the challenge it provides increases our self-esteem and resilience in the face of adversity. So plan a quest, be out in nature, wade in the lakes, take in the awe of our waterfalls, the quiet of a deep forest, and journal about your travels. Your stress levels will decrease, and writing will help you process your thoughts and find gratitude in your life. Because sometimes the trail is more than just a path. Sometimes it's a life change.
I love that. Oh, yes. And the power of nature and what it can do for you. And it's funny that exactly what you're saying, when we do slow down and we allow ourselves to meander and not worry about the next checkpoint in the straight line, it just seems to happen so late, later than it should in life. And that's part of my quest that I've been on with this podcast, is to have people think about and take inventory about what their lives look like, because tomorrow is not promised, and, take an inventory of where you are and how you are enjoying life. Are you enjoying it? Or is one day just, I felt like I was on a hamster wheel of Groundhog Days, just waking up, doing the same thing, and kept saying, when I retire, I'll do this. When I retire, I'll do this. And just stop, let me off the wheel. Let me reevaluate here a little bit. So, okay. So for our homework assignment, our takeaways, our action steps, what do you have for us?
Well, if you've never hiked before, don't be intimidated by all the hiking gear. Ask people. They love to talk about what works for them as far as equipment goes. Join some hiking social media sites like where Rachel and I met, and ask questions about boots and pants and backpacks and poles. There's really several great groups. There's one called Wisconsin State Parks, Women Hiking Wisconsin. There's Women Hiking South Central Wisconsin, lots and lots of them. I've been on them asking questions and answering questions too. And they can help you find your risk versus comfort level, and frequently have events that you can join other people to hike if you've never been out. So it makes it a little easier to jump in. And really big action takeaway, stop caring if your hiking fashion measures up to anyone else's. I've hiked with women who are decked out in the most expensive kit and women who wear jeans and flip-flops when they're out there. The point is just to allow yourself permission to not care what other people think. Instead, work on deeply caring for your own beautiful self. Make peace with your flaws, cherish your own company, and just get out there. Age disgracefully, that's what I like to say. Don't let societal norms define you. The only thing you should be giving up is the judgment of others. We are allowed to be grateful for our aging and to embrace it wholeheartedly. Not accepting the conventional myths about aging and staying positive really does make for a happier, healthier, and longer life.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm just writing down all these powerful timestamps here of so many inspiring things that you said that I want to come back to. But I was just asking someone about poles because I was asking some girlfriends, like, you guys finding that as we age, your balance seems a little worse? And most of them, this was after I was hiking Devil's Lake, and they were like, Well, we're not like traversing boulders like you just were. So
Yeah.
one person said, yeah, I noticed my balance is a little. I was like, okay, what's the age for poles? I think I might be ready.
Oh, yeah. And they really do. It's better to get them earlier than later because they'll save your knees
Okay.
and save you from falling down on roots because one of the reasons I really like them because I do like to look around a lot when I'm hiking.
Mm-hmm.
When you have poles, you don't have to watch so much what's on the ground. Like if there's a rock or a root or whatever, you might hit it, but you're not going to fall down.
Oh, that's such a great point because I feel like I was looking at the ground that whole time because it was so uneven and my vision is, I don't hike in my readers and I'm like trying to just get used to the changes that are occurring and still enjoy myself. I was getting so down on like, oh, I just feel so unsteady and it's taking away from the experience. So,
yeah, that's what's nice about having poles. They really do help you just relax a little bit and be able to look around more than just watching the ground right in front of you.
Okay, perfect. That's going to be on my birthday list for my 52nd birthday this year.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, it's been so amazing having you today, Betsy. Obviously, you're so knowledgeable and so inspirational, and I just appreciate you taking the time to share your messages with the listeners.
Well, great. And I hope everyone checks out my book.
Yes. So I'm going to put a link to where you can get Betsy's book in the show notes. And I'll post some additional links as well that she has shared with me. It did win a book award as well. And I look forward to checking it out myself. Wow. What an incredible conversation. Betsy's journey through Wisconsin state parks is more than just a hiking challenge. It's a testament to resilience, self-reflection, and the beauty of embracing life's transitions. If Betsy's story resonated with you, be sure to check out her book, Time, Beauty, and Grief, A Hike Through Wisconsin's 50 State Parks. I've linked it in the show notes. And don't forget, whether it's through hiking, journaling, or simply taking time to pause, we all have the power to reflect on where we've been and where we're headed. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a rate and review, or share it with someone who needs a little inspiration today. You can always follow along on Life's Next Lesson Plan on YouTube and all social media for more behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, keep exploring, keep reflecting, and keep learning. We'll see you soon.